Looks like we're live here at USC.
Hello.
How you guys doing? We got a different look on our panel today.
Atlas.
This is USCFootball.com live. We do it every week. A little bit later this week. Usually do it at noon. We're doing it at 1 o'clock today. Let us know if you could hear us okay. We have a little bit different setup. And like we said, we're at USC. USC had a mini pro day this morning. We're going to talk about that, the quarterback competition, the depth on the USC defense, and all that kind of stuff. I am your host. I'm going to try to see if this will work. Ryan Abraham. You can follow me on Twitter at Inside Troy. We also have in the middle, familiar face.
Hello.
Keely Eure. Follow on Twitter at Keely is my name.
That is my name.
And we just got this going. From the Orange County Register,
Ta-da!
Shotgun.
Hello.
Spratling. No, it's not Shotgun. It's Joey Kaufman. What's up, Joey? How you doing, man?
I'm good, Ryan. I'm having a break for my salad and lunch to join you guys, and we can talk about Pro Day Part 2.
Yes, Joey's there. You can follow him on Twitter at Joey R. Kaufman. It's up there. You can check it out. Yeah, so USC had a mini pro day today. Ronald Jones, who ended up hurting his hamstring at USC at the combine. So he ran a 4.6 during the 40, pulled up about halfway through, so he didn't get to do anything else. And then Deontay Burnett, who went to the combine but didn't do anything, those guys both were out there today for about 15 or so scouts, you'd say?
Yeah. 15's right.
Yeah.
A little more than a dozen.
No Jimmy Haslam in the stands this time. But we did see Sam Darnold.
Michael Pittman was in the stands.
Michael Pittman was, yeah. I think Cedric Ware, T. Martin was hanging out there. Clay Helton, he's the head coach. You know him.
I do.
He was there.
Yes.
But Sam Darnold was a kind of cool thing. And if you remember Sam Darnold's very first start was at Utah. He went up against, do you remember the quarterback? Troy Williams, who was also there.
The Utah connection is just strong at these pro days.
It's very strong, yes, because we had two former Utah quarterbacks at the last two pro days, right?
True. Travis Wilson was at the first one.
Yeah. But Sam Darnold ended up throwing to Ronald Jones at the end of the pro day, and then Troy Williams threw to Deontay Burnett, who he told us afterwards they're working out together at, I forget what they're somewhere in Thousand Oaks. They're working out together.
I don't remember the name of it, but it was in Thousand Oaks.
Yeah, Proactive. I think it's Proactive or something like that. So,
you've been replaced.
No, yeah. So we're gonna let Shotgun sit here for. No, we're talking some pro day stuff first.
Yeah.
Shotgun's late, so he doesn't get to come.
Late. Yeah, we're live, mister.
We are live, man. We're going right now. Well, while we got you, Joey, what did you think of the pro day this morning?
It was cool because I thought it was a neat story how Sam came back. He was in Cleveland yesterday visiting with the Browns in Berea at their facility, and then changes his flight, comes back last night, and throws for Ronald at his pro day. Very good teammate.
Very good teammate.
Yeah, I'm putting some pictures up. The Sam Darnold up there with Clay Helton checking it out.
How did Sam look? Both of you?
You look like Sam. I don't feel like he is going to fall because of his performance. The second pro day, throwing 10, 15 passes, whatever it was, to Ronald Jones. It wasn't a ton of passes.
Yeah, it was. So they went inside and they did bench press and long jump. I think I heard Ronald Jones did like 8 reps on that or something. But then they came outside and did the 40, which I was a little late. I didn't get there. So Joey was there. You were there for the 40. It was like a 4.48 and a 4.7, at least according to USC.
Yeah, 4.48 for Ronald on his first electronic timed. And then Deontay did a 4.7. Both said they're about 80-85%.
Yeah.
The thing for Ronald, he just needed to get it time. 4.66 at the combine. He hadn't done a 40 since, and that's still pretty decent to pull up during the 40-yard dash and run a 4.66. I think that's pretty good. But I mean, he's a guy who theoretically could have the best 40 of any running back in the draft. At this point, only 4 guys at the combine ran faster than he did. He wanted to get 4.4, so this is good, but probably not entirely what he wanted.
Yeah, it felt like talking to those guys afterwards, a little frustration. I think Deontay was a little more optimistic, and he'd said a couple weeks ago he was 80%. He said that today he was about 80%. Rojo was more, like he said, 85, 90, but he seemed, that's something that's his speed is what's really going to set him apart. And so the fact that he wasn't able to run as fast as he could, you could tell there was a little bit of frustration there. And I didn't feel Deontay Burnett had any kind of felt badly that Sam Darnold didn't throw him the football. I mean, he's been working out with Troy Williams. They didn't really. I think you didn't want to have Sam Darnold come out and have a second pro day where he just throw to everybody.
Yeah, I don't think he wanted to have Sam throw twice, and they also threw more balls to Deontay, so it would have been a longer workout. So I think that was probably the biggest reason.
Yeah, they didn't have. Here, I'll put up one of
the. He was probably jet lagged as well. You know.
Yeah, literally. Like here, I'll put up one of these videos. Oh, nice. It's working. Cool. You can see this was that was the shuttle run, I believe, and this is Rojo doing the 3-cone drill. So you can check that out. Let that run for a minute. But yeah, so they both did those drills, and then Ronald Jones did some like trash bag drills and some running back drills. Deontay didn't really do any wide receiver drills. They just threw. So I think there was a few more passes, like Joey said, for Deontay, and then going forward with Rojo, he caught some, but he caught some at the USC Pro Day. It wasn't. I think Deontay did really well. He had some nice catches.
Any drop balls from Deontay?
I think there was one. I believe there was one.
At least one, maybe two.
But there's like, I'll put this picture up again. Like he had some really nice balls where he extended and made good catches, and people would comment, they look good out there. So I think he helped himself because he hadn't really seen it. But Ronald Jones, if you watched that and you didn't think he had very good hands, you probably came away. He still doesn't have very good hands. But
interesting.
He was better at the first pro day. Everything considered, the conditions, it was a downpour. He probably had the same number of drops. A couple of drops here today in the sunshine, and a couple of drops in the rain. So the rain was probably more impressive, all things being considered.
Yeah, it was weird that he even caught then.
Yeah, that surprised me.
And maybe he would have caught more balls today if he didn't do it then, but just it didn't look super comfortable with the ball kind of coming into him, like coming into his.
Interesting.
It was, I don't know what it was, but it just.
So today felt more off than the first one? Maybe because it didn't really count? Because he knew he had a second day?
I don't know. It
just seemed a little more uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And maybe don't have the adrenaline is going. The first pro day, all 32 teams are there. It's a little more packed. There are more people in the stands, so I think you can get maybe your adrenaline up a little more. This one, there's really nobody here.
Yeah, it was about 15 teams. Bruce Arenas, is that right? I get the name. I think that he was there from. Was that right?
Bruce Arians.
Bruce Arians. Sorry, Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
I'm screwing up two names. Bruce Arians was there, but not like a lot of the big names. The Browns were there. Ronald Jones did meet. He said he met with them. And Deontay, I think at the request of the Patriots and one other team, they wanted to kind of take a look at him.
Watch the Patriots select Deontay Burnett in the 7th round, and Deontay Burnett becomes like this Patriots slot receiver who catches everything.
He's like the next Wes Welker,
Everybody,
all those guys.
People are asking again, who is this? This is Joey.
Oh,
a stranger.
A stranger from the OC Register. I feel like the paper guys, you don't really see their faces.
Right.
So.
No.
There's a reason.
Yeah. I mentioned it to Joey, and he got a little twinkle in his eye. Like, yeah, let's get Joey some pups. So Joe does a great job, and he was out there. There's only 3 of us really out there. There's another guy from your paper, too.
Right. Ryan Karchi from the Orange County Register, the Southern California News Group, was hitting it hard this morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sending 2 people out to the second
I
period.
didn't know. Like, we kind of got word last night this was going to happen, or at least I did, and it was like, I'm not sure to go out there, but yeah, it's fun to go out and
we had to come here anyway for football practice.
Yeah.
There was some lack of clarity whether Ronald was actually going to run in the 42, and whether how much Deontay was going to do. So usually for the pro day, the school will advertise it and make a big deal out of it, but I don't think they wanted to do that in case they did nothing.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a letdown.
And they were friendly. I think at the
USC
Pro Day, like they were like, you have to stay over here. We could pretty much do what we wanted, and no one seemed to care. It was cool. Yeah. All right. Well, hey, should we get Joey just like Shotgun's really itching to come in, so let's make him wait a little longer.
He's like in timeout over there.
The reason we're doing it at 1 because he had some baseball thing to do somewhere else. So
one of his 90 jobs.
Before we let you go, just any kind of big thoughts on USC spring practice?
It's kind of boring. I feel like it's kind of an uneventful quarterback competition because you have the biggest character of them all, JT Daniels, kind of away from the team, looming in the background. So it's
like this presence there.
So it's not everybody's not there. They're not all splitting reps. I mean, this was supposed to be the widest quarterback competition at SC since 2009, when you had Matt Barkley, Mitch Mustain, Aaron Corp. But in that case, Barkley was there during the spring, and you had all 3 guys going. In this case, you have 1 guy missing, and so it just kind of seems as if they're kind of waiting until the competition really kicks up a notch in August or July.
Yeah.
It would probably feel like a more exciting competition if the quarterbacks were really kind of wowing us more than they have, and you'd be reading breathless reports about how they threw two touchdowns. Jack Sears threw a back shoulder fade in the end zone, and the guy caught it, but there haven't been a lot of those things to really gush over yet. So it's kind of been kind of so-so. It'll be interesting because we do see they'll do another scrimmage on Saturday, and they'll have the spring game light.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll see a little more that'll be of interest, but it's kind of the defense is good. Porter Gustin is a big man and gets in the backfield, and we'll probably get to quarterbacks. Cam Smith and other players in the defense are back, and they're still good.
Yeah.
And the offense is in transition mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. I agree, but like the defense is definitely deeper, but that's not really that exciting of a topic, right? Like you want to talk about the quarterbacks,
Right.
but the defensive depth I think is important for this team.
Yeah, like Jonathan Lockett's back. He was
Yeah.
a guy who redshirted last year as like a 5th-year senior cornerback. You could use a guy like that on your team. It's going to be a 3rd or 4th corner. That's valuable.
Yeah.
But that's probably doesn't create as exciting content.
Oh yeah. And we got people coming in here. Sorry, Paul, we're doing this is not literally in the
We got
media
a big
workroom.
crowd.
Yeah.
The only reason we have Joey
An
on.
audience.
Football.com every night. Hi, Keely.
Hello.
We have some fans here. That's good. Well, Joey Kaufman, I'll put it up again. Follow his work on Twitter at Joey R. Kaufman. And of course, he's with the Orange County Register, one of the regulars out there at USC practice. So thanks for filling in for
I
Shotgun.
look forward to the USCfootball.com bump.
We'll get to some bump, yeah.
Yeah. It'll happen.
Sweet. All right. Thanks. Well, I guess.
We gotta welcome in. This
yeah.
guy.
Now we can do a hockey line.
Shift change. Shift change. Thanks again, Joey.
Hey, thanks, Ryan.
All right.
Hello.
More of a
hi,
familiar
Joey.
face. You can follow him on Twitter at ShotgunSPR.
SPR.
Shotgun
Mr. Shot.
Spratling.
What's up, guys?
Mr.
How you
Gunn.
doing?
I was out seeing one of the potential top 10 MLB draft picks, Bryce Terang from Corona San Diego. Probably
Yeah.
going to be a millionaire in a couple months. So,
Nice.
I'm not.
well, it must be nice, 17-year-olds becoming millionaires. But yeah, I had to go down and see them. I've discovered after driving 3 straight days to Jay Serra, San Juan Capistrano, that's far.
It's South Orange County.
I
Right?
go home. Yeah. How did you feel the earthquake today?
Nope.
I didn't either. I love earthquakes, so I was kind of sad about that. Ryan felt it though.
I did. I was sitting right in this room, and it kind of rolled and rolled. And I walk outside, and I don't know who was manning the desk, but she was like earthquake. And I went into Tim Tessalon's office, who's the SID, and he's like earthquake. And he said his family sent a group text. Everyone was doing it. So he's down closer to the beach where I am. So they probably felt it more there because it was off the Channel Island. So yeah, we here at USC got the earthquake.
So my first ever earthquake, coming out to LA was it was 3 a.m. and right across the way, the old Annenberg, I was in the office editing video, and I thought a tree had fallen against the building, and like that's what
tree falling.
yeah, like that's what it felt like a tree falls over, hits the building, it shakes the building type of thing, and I was like, look outside, I didn't see a tree, I was like maybe I just can't see it because it's dark. So then I go to Twitter, and Twitter always is the judge.
Twitter knows.
Just search on our Twitter earthquake, and then it's like 1, 2, 3 start rolling in. And you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that was
Yeah.
the
That's
first
what
earthquake.
that was. Yeah, I tweeted it. It's always funny. You tweet it out right away, and then all these people respond, and then someone eventually gets the U.S. whatever SG survey thing, and they send it out, and so it was apparently a 5.0 off of Channel Islands. Do we have comments and questions?
Josh says, did Tim Tessalon duck under his desk because of the earthquake or because Ryan walked into the office?
Do you want to? Is that working?
It's not. Oh yeah, it's right there. Sorry.
Um,
We can show this comment
make sure it's.
if it's showing. Is it showing?
Yeah, I got it now. Okay, so I think it's coming up there. All right, perfect. We're just making sure we got all the technical buzzes and whistles and things going. No, Tim was not under his desk. He was there. Tim and I are friends. It's fine.
Okay. He
There's
wasn't hiding from
definitely
you?
some media relations things that they have to they're doing their stuff. We're doing our stuff, but no, there's no running under the desk.
Shall we get into it? Sean wants to know, do you have tsunami evacuation signs near your house?
I do actually. Yeah, there are some, but I'm about a half a mile away from the water, and it's big uphill. Like I don't know how big the tsunami would have to be to get to where I am, but it would have to be really. There's a lot of people underwater if it gets up to me, so it's weird.
So it's bad news if you get underwater.
If I'm under, yeah, like there's probably a lot that's under, because I don't know what it is. It's Hermosa Beach. It goes.
Basically, Ryan's up in an ivory tower up the
No,
top of the hill.
no, I'm the further away from the water, the cheaper it is. If you're next to the water, that's expensive.
Sure, you're just looking out on top of it.
People pay more to go away from the water. They want to be closer to the water.
Tester Troy says, Ryan, I think it's due time for a Tyler Vaughn's interview. Well, Tester Troy, good news. I talked to him on Tuesday, so look out for that.
Yeah, the next couple of months, you'll get it up.
No, that's false.
Speaking of baseball, I also saw his little brother, who's apparently a legit baseball prospect as well, at St. John Bosco the other day.
George says, loved your April Fool's Day. Switch podcast with Michael and Alicia of Rain of Troy, Ryan and Keely.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, if you didn't, so we put that up. I don't know if Rain of Troy has done another one since then. I checked yesterday, but I did one with Dan Weber, and I totally forgot to even mention it until halfway through the episode and started to, oh yeah, by the way, the last episode we did wasn't us,
Yeah.
So yeah, we switched places with the Rain of Troy team, and we pretended to be them. They pretended to be us. Thought it'd be a fun April Fool's joke. We had a few tweets of people that were just didn't like. There were some haters, but for the most part, everyone we talked to on the message boards, they all liked it. And usually that's
it's a nice little switch.
Yeah, something different.
Yeah. Jorge says, speaking of earthquakes, how has Christian Rector been doing this spring? Doesn't seem like there has been much activity on the Rector scale as of late. Get it?
Wow.
Well done, Jorge.
Went for it, huh?
We still don't have the pictures. Some of the pictures aren't showing up.
He doesn't have one.
Oh, okay. Are the pictures showing up?
Joey wrote about Christian Rector.
Yeah.
Plugging Joey's work.
He's got a mouthful of salad, but he's letting you know that he wrote about Christian Rector.
Christian Rector is going to be a guy that's going to be in those third down packages. He's a pass rusher for them. He's kind of a tweener right now. They're using him inside and outside. I think he'll move out to that kind of that predator outside linebacker position when they go to third downs potentially, or come in inside. But his job is going to be to rush the passer. Now, can he get on the field all the time? That's going to be the question mark, and he's going to have to beat out guys like Malik Dorton and Jay Tufele at that D tackle spot if he wants to be on the field all the time. But right now, I think those other guys maybe are in front of him as far as first and second downs. He's got to make some more noise in the run game and show that if they move him outside, that he can hold the edge. And that was the reason why they made the switch in that Notre Dame game, is because he was struggling to hold the edge against the read option. So they went to Jordan Isef. But Jordan Isef's been really good at the same spot, opposite Port Augustine until he was banged up in the last practice. So they've got a lot more options this year, I would say, with those guys. And guys like Kanai Monga has really made a strong impression already. He's a guy that can get to the quarterback, and that's what they saw when we saw him at the USC Elite Camp. And you go, who's this kid? Who's the long-haired kid from Hawaii? How do you say his name? He can get to the quarterback.
Yeah.
And he got an offer immediately after they saw him, and he accepted that. And people were kind of like, why is USC taking this commitment? And then you look at, if you hadn't seen him, you ask that because he's a three-star guy. There's a lot of other linebackers in this class, outside linebackers particularly. They already have Bo Calvert in the mix. But when you saw him play, you said, you got to get that guy. And then you read about him in Hawaii, and every opposing coach loves that he's gone, but also hates because of how good he was, but hates that he's gone because of his work ethic and how, the type of player he was on the field. He's a guy that I was excited to see, and he's, living up to the hype early.
Nice.
Indeed. Tito says, have you seen improvements on the offensive line? It was interesting, though. I feel like there's a collective agreement from the coaches on practice on Tuesday. They kind of reviewed the scrimmage film and said that the O-line looks pretty good. So it seemed like positive reviews. I know Dan talked to Tim Drevno for a while on Tuesday, one-on-one, and Tim Drevno was praising the offensive line a lot. So I know we can't really see the offensive line from where our vantage point in the media pen, but the coaches seem to come out with positive reviews of the offensive line from Saturday.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's not like the offense has been lighting it on fire, but I thought the run game's been okay when you see it. It's just the passing game I think that's been lacking. But I feel like the offensive line is in a better place. Saturday, like Joey mentioned, there'll be another scrimmage, and then the following Saturday will be the spring game light. So we'll see how that kind of goes. But yeah, I think there's been some improvements there. My general sense is, I don't know if you feel different.
So what I've heard from Clay Helton, and maybe you guys have heard differently from the other coaches, but I hear the offensive line doing really good in the run game. I don't hear him say anything about, oh, we're really, we're blocking Port Augustine really well. No. He's saying, oh, yeah. Port Augustine's unblockable. Oh, Kanae Monga is getting the quarterback. He's doing these things. Like, you don't hear them talk about the passing game at all because there's deficiencies there.
Yeah.
And I think that there's still communication issues. I think they're working better in the run game. And usually with the offensive line, run game communication can come quicker because that's something you can practice without a defense. You can work on more. Whereas when you're going against switches and stunts and stuff like that, against the pass game, it's a little bit different, more communication. That communication comes later, I think. So I think the run game is coming along, maybe even better than they were expecting. And, that's with two young centers out there. And Brett Nealon has not been out there the last couple of practices. He got hurt Saturday, is it correct, in the scrimmage, I believe?
Yeah.
So this week he hasn't been out there yet. We'll see if he's out there today. But that's put Justin Dedich as the starting center, true freshman. 7 practices in, he's now the starting center. And then Jordan Austin has had to move to the second team center, and that's actually brought Frank Martin, the long-forgotten Frank Martin, back into the mix in the 2 deep. So he's been playing the guard spot with Jordan Austin moving inside. So there's still some moving parts there. I think that the run game has looked good. I think Ced Ware has looked really good in the run game.
He's been good.
And even when they don't give him a huge hole, one run, I think he made I think there were 6 missed tackles on one run, and that's saying something against the defense that has been out there. There's a lot of veteran guys, but he was carrying Caleb Tremblay for a couple yards. Caleb Tremblay was basically limbing onto the back of his jersey, and he just shrugged him off. Yeah, and so I think Ced Ware, I think he's running with some fire this spring. I think he's looked really good, and the offensive line has given them some holes, and they made him and Vi, when he's been out there, have made the most of them.
Yeah.
Cool.
Lauren has some hateration.
Oh.
He says, when are we going to get a real quarterback coach?
Ouch.
I know.
So talk about Brian Ellis. I think, the jury's still going to be out on him. You can't really tell. He's coached one game, the Cotton Bowl. Now, obviously, that wasn't great. But this, he's got a tall order ahead of him because he's going to have 3 really young quarterbacks to try to groom into this offense. So if come out and whoever ends up getting the starting job, if it's Fink and they end up looking pretty good, I think you're going to give Brian Ellis a lot of credit for kind of bringing these guys along. If they come out and they stink, he's probably going to get a lot of, hate thrown his way like this one. But Lauren, I think it's a little too early to say he's not a real quarterback coach. He just doesn't have the experience that other quarterback coaches might have. And I get the people being upset about it, because you do have young quarterbacks, you'd like to get an experienced coach. But Clay Helton has all the confidence in the world in Brian Ellis. We'll see how that turns out.
I will say, though, it is interesting hearing his scrum. I heard him say the other day, I used to watch the quarterbacks when he was the assistant, and he was like, it's kind of different now having to coach them in this time period. And I was like, okay, you kind of want someone that has more experience than that. So that was a little interesting. But
and when there was they'd look at something in the film room, I think I talked to him a week ago, and it was so I have to come up with a drill to fix that. But if you've done this for 15 years, you probably have a drill. So exactly. I get some of that stuff, but Clay has a lot of confidence in him.
He's saying all the right things in the scrums and stuff. He is not happy with the results so far. But the thing is, if he had been the first-year quarterback coach and it was Max Brown versus Sam Darnold does really well, are you going to give him the credit? No. Nobody's going to give a quarterback. Can you name one other quarterback coach in the country?
Yeah.
Probably not. You might can name some other position coaches, maybe. No one knows a quarterback coach. If you're any good at a quarterback coach, you're immediately moving on to a different position, higher up on the pecking order. So the better thing is to not be known as a quarterback coach. So if they do well, I don't think you're going to know him as a quarterback. Oh, they did really well because the quarterback coach, took them and, took their game to the next level. But if your position is not doing well, that's when you're like, who's the coach of those guys right there? So the quarterbacks obviously have to play better. They haven't played well this spring. JT Daniels' stock is rising without him doing anything, which is not a good sign for the other 2 guys. And JT Daniels, everyone, I know you guys want him to come in and be the savior. Calm down. He's going to have 5 weeks. If he even he's got to get done with school first.
Yeah. It's not a guarantee.
Yeah. And if he does, he's going to have 5 weeks to come in and prove that he's better. Matt Barkley played as a freshman. Matt Barkley had the spring. He had an opportunity to come in. And you go through those learning periods early as a freshman, And then you learn from it during the summer. Oh, this is what I was doing wrong. You can make some adjustments and then go through it. It can be really tough for a guy to come in 5 weeks and take over the job. Maybe he does it. But I think we should temper the enthusiasm just a bit and the expectation that he's just going to come in and be a world beater, because any quarterback's going to have that transition period especially moving from junior year of high school to freshman year of college.
I think we got a fired up shotgun. He comes off the bench and he's a little, he was antsy. He's sitting over on the bench there with Joey's the starter, and
well, when you start, you gotta expect to go in 7 innings. You come out of the bullpen, you just you blow it out. You're ready to go.
Kevin Baker says, "What are your opinions on Randall Grimes? I feel like he can be a difference maker."
I've had a bunch of Randall Grimes questions lately. So the two main dudes that you see out there are Tyler Vaughn's, my guy, and Michael Pittman. They've been great, and it's like, who's the other guys that have kind of played well? I'm curious to get your thoughts on it, but you look at him, if you come out to practice, you'll see, like, that looks like a dude. He's big. He was only a 3-star guy coming out of Vegas and stuff, but I think Gerard was always high on him. And I don't think I've seen, like, amazing things from him yet, but there's flashes there. I think there's some really good potential. I don't know what you feel, but
I think that's the thing with the rest of the receiver group. I think T. Martin talked about it the other day when he was talking about Josh Motorbebe. He said, Josh Motorbebe, somebody asked, what's the next step for him? He has to dominate every day. That means there's flashes, and we're seeing that from pretty much everybody in that group. You see Trayvon Sidney making one-handed catches at times. I've seen Pai Young make a couple of nice catches over the middle and stuff. Who's going to step up and do that every day? Because I don't remember the last time I saw Trayvon Sidney make a catch in the last couple of weeks. Pai Young, I'm thinking maybe one of them off the top of my head. I can't think of a Randall Grimes catch off the top of my head.
Yeah.
That has to become a consistent effort, and that's the guys that will move into that role. And with young guys, you're going to have, you do the trial and error, and a lot of guys when they come in, they're gonna make some flash plays, and then you have to deal with the other part of it. And it's not all just catching the ball; it's also the blocking and everything else that they want from that position. So, who's going to step up and become the consistent playmaker outside those two guys that you already mentioned? I think that's a question that we're not going to find out until game time, probably.
Yeah.
It was interesting. Tyler Vaughn's actually spent like 25 minutes with Randall Grimes after practice on Tuesday, going over footwork, kind of becoming Coach Tyler. We joked around about that. And Tyler said, like, he has the tools, Randall Grimes does, but he just needs more experience. And so Tyler kind of took it on himself to kind of coach him more afterwards. And I think Tyler's a good guy to get coached from because he's so good in that regard. So it's just interesting how they've kind of become a little duo in that sense.
Yeah.
And remember that Randall Grimes is pretty raw because he played quarterback in high school. That's part of the reason why he was probably a 3-star. If he's a guy that was at receiver position, for 3 years leading up to that ranking, then he might, he has all the tools to be a 4, even a 5-star guy. So, it seems so easy to be a receiver. Just go run out there, run fast, catch the ball. But there's a lot of little things that go into the details that turn you from being okay and showing some flashes, great athleticism, speed, to being, okay, this guy gets open all the time.
And T. Martin is a very critical coach. He was saying on Tuesday that he counts every pass, and if it is in your radius of catching, that counts as a drop if you don't catch it. He knows off the top of his head how many catches you have in spring. So it's much harder than it looks, as Shotgun said.
Hey, give us some likes on here. I like those. I would like to see the things go by.
Joseph says, from what you've seen and heard to date of spring practices, what are all of your projections for wins this year? It's a hard question to answer.
Yeah, I mean, from
10
watching
practices in of spring.
So you see 10 spring practices, and that means X amount of wins. I mean, the biggest question is you don't know who the quarterback is. I mean, that's going to be a huge portion of this. I think you can come out of spring, feel pretty good about this defense. We don't know if it will rotate more, but you feel like there's going to be more bodies out there. There's going to be, and how well that works, we don't know. But I think you can feel pretty good about the defensive side of the ball. I think there's a lot more questions on the offensive side. I mean, I think I was talking to Joey about this before we came on. It's not a great Pac-12 South. I think Chip Kelly's going to do really well, but it's going to be a tough year. I think Arizona could come out and play well with Kevin Sumlin. ASU, it just seems like they're going to cut people, and who knows what's going to happen there. I mean, even if USC is not playing that well, they could still easily win 8 or 9 games with not even playing that well, just because of the competition they're facing. Now, do you feel bad if they lose to like UCLA and Notre Dame or something, and then they beat like Oregon State? It's close games, things like that. I think USC fans can kind of feel bad, but I don't see them losing, or winning less than like 8 or 9 games, even if they're not playing that well. It would have to be pretty bad, I think, for it to go below that. But I don't know what you guys think.
I think 8's the minimum for sure.
Yeah, I feel like Fink has at least proved himself enough to be a manageable quarterback.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go with him, and we haven't seen JT yet, so we can't really judge that. But I think he can be a neutral force, as we talked about before, where he can kind of manage the game and not really get in trouble too much. And the run game seems like it's gonna be good this year, so that seems like a good.
If it's a 7-5 or a 6-6 thing, I mean, there's some stuff going wrong. Like the defense isn't as good as we thought. And JT Daniels isn't the savior, because it means that one of the, Sears or Fink didn't work out. They tried Daniels and that didn't work out either. Because if they start off 1-2, Daniels is getting in there. There's no question. It's like Sam Darnold all over again. And if that doesn't work, like Sam Darnold worked out, if JT doesn't work out, which he's only been on campus for a month and a half or something at that point. I mean, you can understand why it might not. So yeah, I think 8's probably the minimum, like Shotgun said, but. Who knows?
And you never know what injury is going to be set the team. There's going to be somebody get hurt. So if that's Cam Smith or, a guy where there's limited depth behind, then there might be some big question marks there. Key injuries can change a team drastically. Yeah. I mean, you never know. You go through a string of injuries like I always bring up Maryland. They were out on like their 6th quarterback one year. Like they had a walk-on linebacker who had played some high school quarterback. It was their quarterback the starting quarterback last 2 games of the season, because they had so many injuries. So if you get one key position like that just banged up, it can greatly affect an entire outcome of the season.
Mr. Troy says, have you guys heard anything about the PRPs? And hopefully you guys can video them again? Question mark.
So we tried to do some winter ones, and I got some word that we're going to do them, but they just it seemed like they were trying to keep that more secret. We haven't got any word on the summer ones. I assume it's going to be what we saw last year, where there'll be a limited number, and we can film like the beginning. Like we couldn't even film the whole thing before. So I don't know. Maybe something changes, but I doubt it. Like our general rule is if they did it last year, that's what they're going to do this year. That's what I would guess.
Access rarely ever increases. You almost always decreases.
And those are like probably my favorite things. Like covering USC, like those are always been my favorite, because it's like the guys all love it. Like they want to they pose for pictures.
Yeah, they ham it up.
They love that, put their stuff out there. They want to see making catches and all that stuff. So it's really weird where it's something that they really enjoy. It's something that's great for us because, we get to cover stuff all year round. And you got a guy like Joey. I mean, I'm not taking that, but like the newspapers typically aren't covering those as much. So it's like something we have, we do something a little bit more exclusively, like a lot of like some of the recruiting stuff. So the fact that they limited those, I don't really get it. It kind of started with Cody Kessler. But hopefully I hope it changes, but my guess is it's not going to.
And the players is kind of playtime for them. The actual PRP part of it is playtime, because they've just did 2 hours of conditioning and stuff, and they're usually dead tired as far as the legs. So they're going out and they're trying to make one-handed catches and stuff and whatnot, while still learning the playbook and all the other stuff that's going along with it. And you get to see the teaching of some of the older guys when the freshmen actually arrive. You see a lot of mentoring and tutoring going on in those early PRPs for the freshmen too. So it's really interesting to see those kind of the backside dynamics of that.
Yeah, exactly. I missed this earlier. Chester Shore actually had a specific question for Shotgun.
Oh.
He says, from what I saw at the scrimmage on Saturday, Fink looked like he is definitely seeing the field and understanding of the plays compared to Sears. What do you see from the 2 QBs? Do you also feel, as I do, that the non-scholarship QB, Holden Thomas, shouldn't be getting near equal reps? I think the coaches are trying to get the guys to use a 3 QB race, or getting guys used to a 3 QB race. Would like to know your opinion.
I think you should take whatever you saw of Jack Sears and just wipe it clear from Saturday. It was a terrible practice for him. He neared Ricky Town territory almost. So it was just a bad practice. That happens. Everyone in their career is going to have one practice. They're like, I just wish I wouldn't have shown up today.
Yeah.
I wish I would have, been sick or something and just not shown up. Just wasn't a good day. Just wipe that one clean. It's kind of like when you're, some of those competitions where you take away the lowest score and the highest score and you just use the rest of them. Just take that one
That's
out.
going to be his lowest score.
Yeah, just take that one out. Don't even count that one.
Yeah, he not. They're big problems.
He was much better in the first scrimmage. He probably was the better quarterback the first scrimmage than Matt Fink. So, I think you kind of look back at that one more than this one. He had a rough day. He came back. He was a little bit better this Tuesday. We'll see how he is today. I think Fink is the guy right now. I think he's ahead in the competition. I think the extra year experience definitely is helping him too. And Sears has said he just has to let it rip. And I think you're seeing that every once in a while, an extra pat of the ball or something like that. He's missing a couple windows in that regard. And then sometimes when the pass rush comes, it seems to me, I want to pay more attention to it today, but it seems that he kind of ducks down a little bit, and then he gets his shoulders aren't square anymore because of the ducking down, and he throws with an uphill. So he's throwing some passes high in that regard. So we've seen some overthrows there. So I'm going to see if that's a common occurrence of something I noticed last practice I wanted to watch. I don't know that they're keeping Holden Thomas in there just for a QB3 race.
No.
He's looked pretty good.
I know someone is championing him.
Dark horse candidate Holden Thomas.
He's looking, but he's not taking away like first team reps. He's getting some, you can't just let those two guys just throw every pass. Yeah. So I think it's reasonable what he's getting. It's not like they're taking reps away.
Also, in regards to Saturday, I feel like there came a point where Jack Sears was just not doing well, and they kind of just pulled him and was kind of like, Holden, you can go in there and get more reps. So Saturday is a small sample size tester as far as reps that Holden got.
It's like if Clayton Kershaw gives up 6 runs in the first, you're like, you don't leave him out there for 7 innings.
Yeah.
You're like, all right, it's just not your day. We'll come back the next day. I lost my train of thought there.
Sometimes it happens.
For Holden Thomas Fitz, are we talking about, or you mean
Holden Thomas Fitz?
Yeah. All the backup quarterbacks walk on through.
That actually does bring it up because Thomas Fitz is now with the Kickers.
Smart.
That is less arms to throw.
Yes.
I know it's not talked about. I mean, pitch count is a huge thing in baseball, especially at the collegiate level or in high school levels. But there's also a pitch count on these guys. Like, you don't want guys throwing 100 throws on a Tuesday, 100 throws on a Thursday, 100 throws on a Saturday. Like, that's not good for the arm. So at some point, you have to have other guys get in there and make some throws just so that you're not killing these guys' arms and having them having dead arms. And then you're trying to impress the coaches and you got a dead arm. It makes it that much more difficult. So I think they're trying to be smart with the arms too, which is part of the reason why you see Holden getting some throws in there as well.
Yeah, it's sprinkled in. I wouldn't, he's not taking their reps away.
No, I don't think they would do that anyway.
And because it's also a learning, teaching spring rather than a competition spring, according to Clay Helton, I think that there's not the biggest emphasis that these guys need to get every single rep so we can see exactly what they can do.
Yeah, agreed. Joseph says, are fall practices normally open to the public? Fall camp was open to the public.
They opened like the first 2 weeks or whatever. So my guess is they'll do that again. Then once it starts like game prep, then they usually close them. But yeah, so you should be able to have an opportunity in late July, early August to come check out the team too.
Someone on the message board posted, will JT Daniels' first practice be the most anticipated?
Interesting.
First practice with full pads. I don't think the non.
But just seeing him out there in a number will be.
Yeah, I guess so.
But I mean, do you think they're going to be? I think they said most anticipated and most attended.
Well, yeah, it'll probably be. It's depending on which day it is, because the weekend ones get a lot more. And he might not even be able to do a lot of the summer workouts. So we're usually able out there at the summer workouts, and you can get a glimpse. Like, what if he can't even go because he's taking classes until like basically the first day of fall camp? Then it will be more anticipated. If we get to see him like a couple weeks in the summer, it helps a little bit.
Yeah.
For the fans, I don't think it matters. They're not going to see him during those PRPs.
Well, they'll see him if we put up,
If I film it, they will.
Yeah.
The 2 minutes you get to film?
No, not 2 minutes. Whatever.
It feels like.
Okay, whatever. Chris says, do you see special teams using the bounty of linebackers and DBs? Using linemen on punt coverage was no bueno.
English only, please. I'm just kidding.
You're a multilingual.
The tight ends and the defensive tackles that are being thrown out there, like you do have to have blockers on, kick returns and stuff like that. But some of the positions are just kind of confusing. And why is Cam Smith covering kicks ever? Like, get him a break. He doesn't need to I mean, granted, he's like the safety guy, so he doesn't even have to run all the way down the field or anything. But there's some question marks still, and I think that with all these freshmen, you would like to see them get in. We'll see who is going to be used, who's going to be redshirted. Those things will come into play. I think the addition of the extra DBs definitely helps.
Yeah.
Because you want cornerbacks that can, as gunners, and you want guys that, safeties that can make tackles and shed blocks and different things like that. So I think adding more depth to those positions will help special teams.
I think people were talking around practice seem to be a little bit more optimistic on special teams. I was obviously very down on them. I think I was talking to Yogi Roth at practice the other day, and he's like, "Oh yeah, I know. You talk about special teams all the time." He's like, he knows like how much I've been bashing how bad special teams were, but the sense I'm getting is a little bit more optimism that they kind of realize. I think Dan Weber was talking about it too, where they kind of look back and go, "Yeah, that was terrible. So we need to make some changes." So it seems like they're going to be more optimistic for special teams. You gotta prove it to me, show me, because I've been a big critic of how special teams have played.
They have changed how they practice special teams. It's not what we saw before.
True.
So maybe that factors in.
I think just the freshman positions that are coming in. I mean, last year you had guys that were coming in like Juliana Falanico, who were trying to bulk up at the same time as playing special teams and being a guy that could play special teams. Now you got guys like Talanoa Hufanga. You got some other linebackers that could potentially get in there. I think that this class that's coming in is better suited to immediately step into special teams than last class was. So I think that'll help. You got Joe DeForest right now, who was a special teams coach at Kansas. He's helping out, with some things. That can't hurt, I don't think. I mean, it's pretty bad last year, so if it gets any worse, then.
And John Baxter's focused on special teams only now.
So.
Yeah, Kerry Colbert's working on the tight end, so you take that responsibility away. So now you can just focus on that. The way they're breaking it up and doing different skill sets in different areas of the field rather than having everyone stand around. Hopefully that continues in the fall, because I think that is much more productive right now. And maybe it helps because the DeForest is there. He can work a different skill set in one area of the field, and Baxter's working on starch or whatever it may be, rather than Baxter having 85 guys looking at him and 30 guys participating. So.
Marcus says, how good can we really say the defense is if the QBs they go against are average at best?
It's not just the QBs they're going against. I mean, they're getting interceptions and things like that, but they're also getting by offensive linemen. They're on wide receiver routes. I mean, the quarterbacks don't have huge windows a lot of times. I mean, the guy, Iman Marshall nearly picked off a pass on one of the first team plays last. Matt Fink didn't really have anywhere to throw the ball.
Yeah.
He did a good job of throwing it where, Biggie couldn't pick it off, but it was a stop route and Biggie was all over it. So, the fact that what we're seeing in the one-on-one areas and what we're seeing, before the throws are being made, I think tells you that the defense is playing really well right now.
Yeah, I think there's always been some limitations with depth in certain areas. So even with like a Jack Jones not being out there, you're seeing plenty of bodies in the defensive backfield. So I think depth helps. You can do, the second. It's not like there's a bunch of walk-ons on the second team. So I think it just seems to be working a lot better. So I wouldn't discount how the defense is playing just because the quarterbacks have struggled.
Jorge says, which SC newcomer will have the biggest impact this season?
So newcomers. So the guys we've seen so far, I mean, Justin Dedich is he could be your starting center. So not going to happen. Well, but he's the guy right now.
Still got two guys in front of him.
If they're healthy.
But I mean, I love Talanoa Hufanga. He's been really impressive. You mentioned Munga.
Is it Munga or Malga?
Malga, I think.
Oh.
Yeah. So if there's a guy that can get after the quarterback, those guys can always find a way to get on the field somehow, And even like an Abdul Malik McClain, I think he's a guy that could potentially get after the quarterback. So if someone becomes like some sack master, he might end up playing a lot that you don't expect.
Yeah, even if it's just on third downs, I mean, you can have a guy go in and just to attack the quarterback, and you get 6 or 7 sacks in a season. That's great as a newcomer. I think we still haven't seen EA out there, so I think he's a guy we have a lot of expectations for when he comes in. Where they use him, how do they get him opportunities on the field will be a question. And then if JT, if he gets a starting job, he's obviously the number one candidate.
Solomon Tuliaupupu could do. I mean, there's guys. Yeah. I mean, Amon-Ra could have like 4 punt returns for touchdowns or something. Who knows? And is he the slot receiver? I mean, I don't know. He could end up being that.
Who knows?
Like Shotgun said, we haven't seen anyone like that just, after the top two, there's guys that have flashes but not really producing every day. So if Amon-Ra comes in and produces every day, he's going to get on the field. So there's a lot of potential. We had, I think, on a podcast question, like, should they just redshirt everybody? It's like, no, you should not just redshirt everybody.
Who has been your favorite freshman so far?
That
Or
we've
newcomer.
seen?
We'll say newcomer.
Like we've
just
seen?
out here. We'll say newcomer. Leave Caleb Tremblay in there too. I feel like yours is Hufanga.
Yeah, I would say Hufanga, yeah.
It's a tie between Hufanga and Mauga.
I think Mauga.
I think
You like Mauga a lot?
Mauga's getting more playing time just because ISFA is on the DL.
Well, even before that, he's already surpassed some other guys. And one of the things that I think it was Clancy was talking about him is the balance he has. Because he's a smaller guy, and he's going against big tackles and stuff, and if they get their hands on him, it's just like when Zach Banner, everybody's like, oh, he's so slow. Well, you still have to get around him. He's a huge dude. You have to get around him. And if he gets his hands on you, you're not doing that. So he's a smaller guy. If bigger tackles get their hands on him, he's in trouble in that regard, rushing the passer. However, he has tremendous balance, dipping his shoulder down and being able to maintain, his balance rather than just getting thrown down when he does that. He does a great job coming off the edge and getting that little bit of advantage and then turning the corner. I've really been impressed when I saw him, just in the Rise to Start camp. I was like, oh, this guy's an intriguing guy. He gets the offer, commits. And then what we've seen of him, he's intriguing. I would say that's the best word to describe him so far is intriguing. He's been my favorite guy to watch so far just because I'm interested to see how he develops and continues. And, I got to get some hair product tips from him. He's got hair way down there. Didn't realize it. He keeps it up in a bun, I think, most of the time. But he let it flow one practice. Whoa, that's just got some length there.
Did you cut your hair? Like
not recently.
Oh, okay. So you still got the little poof. I didn't know.
The interesting thing, though, is that Clancy seems high on Mauga and Hufanga. Talking to him, he said they don't really make the same mistake twice in the sense that they're easy to coach and they're learning fast. And I think he said Hufanga is like taking notes during the film session and stuff like that. So they're obviously impressing Clancy, which if you're an early enrollee, that's what you want to do. And I think that's paying off because we're seeing them more in the mix with first team and getting more rotation.
Yeah, I would lean more to Hufanga just because personal, like that's a guy like picked from the beginning. So like you want to see him do. Like I'm happy it's like, hey, I pointed this guy out that maybe people were doing, and he's one of the guys people are talking about. So he's the next Tyler Vaughn's kind of guy.
Of the guys that were coming in early, I would have picked Dedich, for the length of his career. I know he's not going to make a big impact early because it's hard to be a center, but I like the leverage he plays with. He's a shorter guy. So he has to play that center position if he wants to get to the next level, but he is tremendous with his leverage. He could teach some of the other guys that are beside him at times because there's some bigger guys that stand up straight way too soon, but he is great with staying down. He's getting thrown around sometimes, but holding his own against guys like Brandon Peely at other times. So I think it's been impressive to see that he's actually made some plays. Again, it's flashes. What you expecting from a freshman, it's flashes. Sometimes he gets manhandled. Other times he's really good. But the positives have been outweighed the negatives so far for a true freshman center.
He's got a nasty disposition too, I think, out there. He just wants to it's like a good offensive lineman disposition. Like you're not gonna mess with this guy. So I like it. Yeah.
And also keep in mind this is their 10th practice as a Trojan, and they're in college for the first time, living on their own. There's a lot that they're handling. They're doing pretty well. So
the fact that he's like the main center right now is kind of crazy.
Pretty crazy. AJ says, how is Stephen Carr's injury/recovery? Do you think Sedwell will be the starter? And then Matthew James just asked, any reason to worry about Stephen Carr's healing from his back?
Nope.
No reason to worry. I don't really know. I mean, backs aren't great, obviously. Like you don't that's not where you're
He's not walking with a limp or anything.
Yeah, he looks fine, but we're not getting like updates on, oh, he's doing this and blah blah blah. But I still think he ends up starting. But I think Cedric Ware is good. He's going to be great too. So it could be a 1-2 punch. They're different backs. It should be fine.
If you can name the last USC running back that didn't get hurt.
Yeah. It hasn't happened.
Like you're going to have more than one running back play. So
I could see Helton kind of giving the nod to Sed just because he's older. He had more time in the spring. I think it also depends on what happens with fall camp. But I think I can see Helton kind of giving that seniority nod to Sed instead of Carr, at least for the first.
That's going to make the fans real happy. They love hearing that.
I'm just trying to predict.
I don't think it would be only senior. I think I mean,
he's also proved himself pretty well
he's
this
fine,
spring.
but
Craig says, it's interesting he says that. Was watching the 03 SC Auburn game where the defense destroyed Auburn's offense on every level. Scary, aggressive. Where do you see this upcoming year's defense? Now, Dan Weber and I were actually talking to T. Martin about this game on Saturday because Dan's whole thing is the comparisons between the quarterback situation in that game and where USC is right now. And T. Martin was actually doing TV on the sideline for that game. And he was like, I forgot about that game.
I didn't even know.
Yeah. So he was like, I forgot about that game. He was like, USC just looks so scary coming out of there. They look so fresh. And he was just like lit up. And he's like, you know what? I'm going to show the team the film from that game. He was like, he remembered this game and was so like inspired by it that apparently he's going to show the team the film from that game. So fun little tidbit for you.
Dan brings that one up a lot, and there was, I think Jason Campbell was the quarterback for Auburn, who was an NFL guy. They had three NFL, kind of like Williams, Ronnie Brown. Like they had USC shut that team out, which is crazy. So Lofa Tatupu and all those dudes, I believe. I think that was it. Yeah, Kenichi Daisy, like all those guys. So and Matt Leinart comes in. I think Tatupu gets an interception like right away. And then Leinart throws a pass to Mike Williams for a touchdown. His very first collegiate pass. So
apparently Dan was saying that the crowd was practicing touchdown Auburn. Like half of them would say touchdown, half of them would say Auburn before the game started, and then they never used that cheer.
They didn't score a point. Yeah, I was there. It was kind of crazy. But Matt Leinart was like a redshirt. Was he redshirt sophomore? Yeah, I think he was a redshirt sophomore when he first started. So this is a little bit different than.
I believe Dan said that the spring was pretty bad too for the quarterbacks that year.
I thought Matt Castle won the spring, who he just signed with the Detroit Lions.
14 years.
14 years in the NFL. So back then I said Castle was better than Leinart. And he's like, you think I'm dumb, but he's still in the NFL. So there was something right.
Always repping your guys to the death.
But yeah, I mean, Dan does love those comparisons, so you should go on the message board and ask Dan about that because he loves talking about that.
But Craig said, where do you see this upcoming year's defense?
I can't compare.
Yeah,
it's hard to compare. I mean, they shut out a bunch of NFL dudes. Like I don't see that happening, but I think it could be a really good defense. Now, I don't know. I mean, you got to have some more vocal leaders. Like it's hard to replace a dude like a Chris Hawkins who's out there kind of talking and stuff. So. We'll see how that kind of gels together, but the pieces look there to be a really special defense.
Marcus has a funny comment. He says, if JT doesn't finish his classes, there will be mass suicide on the corner of King and Figueroa. Is this kid on track to get everything done?
Since I'm not really looking for sources inside of his classrooms and things to figure out what's going on.
I was actually at Monterey Day High School today.
You should have just asked around, like, how's JT?
I didn't hear from anyone. I was tempted to start going just wander around the halls and see if anybody was around, but I thought it'd be better.
How did he do on his last exam?
Yeah, talk to his teachers. I briefly chatted with JT's dad. He didn't raise any concern that he was behind. He seemed like he was on track. There wasn't anything explicitly said, but I didn't get that feel. So we don't actually know.
We don't know, but I think you would start hearing things like, hey, it doesn't look like it's going to happen.
The kid is going to get it done.
Yeah.
I mean, the work ethic that he has on the field, I think that translates in the classroom. I think he'll find a way to get it done. USC is going to give him any resources that they can from the college to help him out. So they're going to make sure that he gets in. The Modern Day wants to make sure he gets in. So it's going to happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't worry about it. But I'm not much of a worrier, so.
Are you?
I'm just not. I don't worry all that much.
That's good.
I love my wife. She worries about everything, so I just don't have to worry.
Equal each other.
Yeah, she worries about everything. I don't really worry about it.
I know that dynamic.
Eric says, hearing good things about Biggie's play this spring, have you all noticed improvements with his ball skills and hand placement? He seems to always have his receiver blanketed, but can't seem to find the ball so he grabs the receiver. He has potential to be an All-American if he improves here.
You can just play him more calm. I think that's something that
Clay his chi.
Clay said? Someone said he seems more calm. I'm not sure who it was. So it's not that he was panicking before when he was trying to find the ball and stuff, but that was his second nature was to put his hands out while he's looking for the ball and stuff. And I don't think he's necessarily doing that. I think he's doing a great job. I think he's reading the routes really well. He's jumping some routes because he's reading what the receivers are doing. So I think that he's taking his game to the next. He's taking that next step in his game, and I think maybe last year was a little bit of a wake up call because he gets injured. When guys get injured, that can be a wake up call for him. And I think he wasn't playing great at the beginning of the season, and then he got injured. And I thought he played really well when he came back. And I think it was a little bit of a wake up call that hey, if I want my goals of being a professional athlete, if I want that to happen, I got to step it up. And I think he's taken that next step.
Yeah, he seems to be all business this spring.
Yeah.
And Helton says that he has just a completely different mentality this spring. He's brought a shut up and work attitude. Tyler Vaughn said that he's noticed the same thing. He seems really mature. Tyler Vaughn said that he's now the hardest corner to go up against in practice. So those two dueling is pretty interesting to watch. But I definitely see what other people are saying, that he just seems more serious this spring.
Yeah, and I think his plan was to be in the NFL. He wanted to be doing the combine stuff and doing all that, and that obviously didn't work out. So it's a little humbling, but I think it's also motivating. And you just go out and it's like, hey man, this is what I want to do. It didn't happen this year, but we can make it happen next year. And I think Ronnie Bradford's changed things up a little bit too. We're seeing a lot more of what he's doing now. It seems like some different drills and stuff. So I think it's all helped him. So expect big things from Biggie this year.
Yeah, it's interesting. Ronnie Bradford seems to know people's tendencies more. At least when I hear him yelling at players, because I've heard him be like, "No, Biggie, you did that last year on film, blah blah blah," and so he knows what Biggie's tendencies are and seems to be calling them out more. So I think it's an improvement from both Ronnie and Iman.
Well, Ronnie Bradford is only working with the cornerbacks basically.
Yeah.
Now. So Clancy Pendergast is taking the safeties and the inside linebackers and put them together, and Ronnie Bradford is basically just working with cornerbacks. So there's more attention to detail on those smaller things. So I think the cornerbacks are getting that advantage. And then a guy like a Janae Harris is floating back and forth, so he helps the safeties, he helps the corners. You talk to any coach, and they'll go on a 2-minute rant about how much they love a Janae. So I think that another year of him and his maturity, he's helping everyone around him. I think that group's only going to continue to get better, especially when you add guys like Elijah Griffin and Isaac Taylor-Stewart to the mix too.
Yeah.
And Jack Jones. More talent coming in the fall.
We're getting close to the top of the hour.
Okay.
We got a bunch?
We got a little bit.
Okay.
Matt Brown says, we gonna old school tight end involvement this year?
Clay Helton the other day was talking about how much the tight ends have been doing well, and in particular Tyler Petite in his blocking. Said he's basically taken the next step in his game and been more physical on the edge. I talked to Josh Follow last week. The fact that Daniel Morabebe is not out there means it's more reps for all those guys. You haven't really seen a lot of passes to the tight ends, which is probably why the quarterbacks haven't been great, because young quarterbacks, inexperienced quarterbacks need a good tight end safety blanket, and they haven't been finding their safety blanket very well.
I can't remember the last. Josh Follow, but Holden Thomas threw that. But I can't really remember the last tight end throw in my mind. I don't know. But T. Martin did highlight Tyler Petite.
Actually, sorry, T. Martin instead of Clay Helton.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. Yeah. He said it was his best spring so far for Tyler Petite, so positivity there. Gregory says, have you seen Clancy using different lineups or defensive packages during spring, such as 3 or 4 down lineman packages?
I mean, you see those during games, so it's not like it's that different.
Yeah.
They're doing similar things like that. Usually USC doesn't go to jumbo where they're using actual 4 defensive tackles or something, unless they're playing Stanford. That's usually the only team that they use that against.
Clancy haven't played Stanford this spring yet, so we haven't.
That's true. Clancy does different stuff based on the opponent. He does some dime stuff when they're playing Washington State and Cal. You don't see that against pretty much anybody else. Weirdly, 2 years ago, the only team they used dime against was Stanford. They used so many different defensive packages against Stanford, and then when they were facing like Oregon and stuff, they was like, our nickel package is good. We'll stay with this.
They do love the nickel.
Yeah.
That's a favorite.
And when you have guys like your nickel backs are a Janae Harris, Jonathan Lockett, and Keely Ross, who are all 3 guys that have started. Like, I would go with more dime, just get 2 of those guys out there.
Yeah.
But Hilton did say they're showing different fronts just for the offense's sake, just to mimic different defenses they'll see during the season. So they started doing that in spring, which is interesting. Chester Troy has another question for Shotgun.
Oh.
How is that?
I'll just take a nap over.
Yeah, you should. Left tackle spot's starting to look. Clayton Johnson has looked good, but Austin Jackson really looks the part, and he looks like he's been putting on good muscle and size without losing much of his speed. Your thoughts? Tester, use some punctuation. It makes my job easier.
I think the telling thing was that when Chuma Ndoga was injured on Tuesday, He had a lower back issue, so they held him out precautionary. Who moved was Clayton Johnson. So I think, Clay said that, Clayton Johnson has good left hand, right hand. He's more ambidextrous. That's why we can move him. I think that also tells you that they like Austin Jackson possibly at that left tackle spot a little bit more.
Interesting.
My guess too.
Ian says, I hear experts say USC ran the most basic offense in the Pac-12. Do you guys agree?
So I would like to see where these experts say these things.
I didn't see that. Yeah, I missed that one.
Cite your
It
sources,
seemed
Ian.
like things broke down a lot, and Sam Darnold made a lot of plays, creatively on his own. So I mean, it's hard to say when the play doesn't really end the way it was drawn up a lot of the times because Sam Darnold just kind of does his thing off script. But I haven't seen that specifically. But
I don't know if anybody watched an Oregon State game. I mean, they did play USC, but their offense was trash.
It's pretty crappy.
Literal trash. People
Maybe they
just
don't
throwing
count.
stuff on the field.
And you watch Stanford, and it's Stanford's offense against Oregon State was trash.
Stanford offense has all these different packages and complex stuff, and then all they do is just throw fades up to the big wide receivers on the edge. Arcega Whiteside.
They got to the Pac-12 championship.
It works because they got some calls. I mean, they threw like 4 in a row in the one game.
Yeah.
And they got a call. This is the only reason they kept going, and then finally they catch one.
Tester Troy says it was a high school offense. I don't know.
There's some people that don't really like the offense. But
Wow.
we'll see. This is a
He
bigger
says
test.
he's working on the run game. That's all he's doing all his days during spring, working on
Yeah.
the run game because the passing game is second nature to him. So
Modern day was a high school offense, too. It was pretty darn good.
it's like a 60s blue.
Oh, 60s blue. By the way, happy belated birthday to Keely. It was
Thank
on
you.
Tuesday. I was at Tuesday practice, and
Both of you were.
what
What kind of coworkers are you? You didn't even know my birthday.
I looked on Facebook, and I didn't check it in the morning. I checked it afterwards. Son of a.
Yep.
But happy birthday, Keely.
Thank you.
I don't do happy birthday wishes. I wait till people have their birthday and then I ask how old their birthday
Yeah,
was.
you've said this before, and you were true to your word. It's true. Actually, I know you asked me on my day, but still.
See what you're up to.
23. Ryan says, "Hey y'all,
God, you're old.
I am really old."
My birthday's in 3 days, by the way. Thanks a lot, Ryan. See?
No.
It's not yet.
Ryan says, "Hey y'all, is our defense good enough to carry this team while the QB situation gets worked out?"
It's going to have to be. No, I think it is. I think it's definitely good enough. I think, Dan talks about this quite a bit where, if you can rely on, maybe it's like what Keely was saying with Matt Fink looked like he can manage the game pretty well. He's completing short passes and some of the medium ones. Just hasn't really been great on deep balls. But doing that, having a good run game and a really good defense against the Pac-12, especially the Pac-12 South, I think you can have a lot of success. So we'll see if it's not really in this team's nature, but that might be what's the best interest for this team to succeed this year.
If one of those guys can manage the game, but they have to get some connections on the deep ball.
Yeah.
If they can connect on a couple of deep balls a game, it opens up the whole offense. Then they can throw the short passes. Then they can have more lanes for running instead of the safeties coming in the box. If your safeties are playing basically 7 yards off because they're not afraid of you throwing the deep ball, it complicates the entire offense. So that's why I think you're seeing a lot of deep balls thrown, even though there's not many completed, is that they know they have to work on that. They have to use that to open up the offense.
I put up a story the other day, just I think it was Wednesday, I don't know, whatever it was, but
It's
it was Tuesday, like the quarterback, competition, kind of an update, and tracking all the throws, all deep balls over the last 4 practices that I charted. They've completed only 2 of 19, and both of those were Matt Fink. I think actually Holden Thomas completed a couple, but I wasn't really charting those. Just between Fink and Sears. So Fink threw 2 touchdowns that were deep. The other 17 balls mixed between the 2 were all incomplete, with 2 interceptions from Jack Sears. So it's not. And when Sears throws them up there in the middle, it seems like it's almost like he's throwing it away sometimes. Like he just kind of hooks it down the middle, and it just lands on the ground. And nobody's near it. It's weird.
Jack Sears did have a deep ball touchdown throw, but there wasn't a touchdown catch because it was dropped.
That was a drop, yeah. Okay.
That was a good throw in the corner of the end zone during the scrimmage. Probably his best throw, possibly even of the entire camp, maybe, and butterfingered.
T. Martin keeps saying that at this point in spring camp, every year it seems like the deep ball seems to struggle. So the way he's framing it sounds like this is more just like a seasonal thing versus a personnel thing, but from what we've seen, they just struggle so much with it. So I don't know. T doesn't seem worried about it, but
we'll be out there in about an hour and let you know how it goes today. But
Frank says, "What is the biggest surprise, either good or bad, you've seen so far?"
I mean, I was a little surprised that neither quarterback has looked a lot better or significantly better. It's just been. And I'm a little surprised that the JT Daniels wave has been able to pick up steam when he's on the sideline in a backpack. That's been a little surprising to me.
Yeah, I think that would be the biggest surprise. I thought the door wouldn't be as open as it is for JT right now.
I don't know. I was trying to think of something good, but maybe the special teams taking an hour of practice.
That's a shocker.
I think the DB depth is a good surprise. I think we knew it was there, but I didn't know how well Jonathan Lockett would play coming back from 2 hip surgeries. I think that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I think, that seeing Ronnie Bradford being more hands-on and being more active, I think you want to see, we make jokes about, nothing changes. It looks like they're making, special teams problems last year, and it looks like they made some changes. I'm not saying they're going to work, but they've changed some things. Some of the cornerback play problems last year, and they made some changes. So I think that those are surprising positive things that they realize there's a problem and they appear to be doing something to fix it.
That was the theory that Dan and I talked about in our last instant analysis, is that kind of getting your butts kicked by Ohio State kind of made the coaches closer to reality, in the sense of the Rose Bowl, you could kind of be brush over some things and not really address them. Whereas the Cotton Bowl, you were like, shoot, this was not good. You have to answer for certain things like the O-line and the DBs. And so I think they're closer to reality in the sense where, okay, these are serious issues that we need to fix.
We should probably wrap it up because Paul just walked in looking a little
Really?
Yeah, I feel bad because we're basically this is not our space,
Oh, okay.
Is there one, you want to do one last one, or is there a bunch more?
There's a bunch more, but it's okay.
Sorry. Get them in early. We'll try to answer faster, but.
Let's see. I don't know. Sean says, "How will experience at the Coliseum be different this year? Do you guys know how it will be?"
It's probably worse. Rapid fire.
Significantly worse, unfortunately.
Rapid fire.
Significantly worse.
People are moving seats. It's going to be hard to get in with construction and stuff. So get there early.
Lucas Museum, less tailgating, less parking.
Just worse.
Yeah, worse overall.
Gerald says, "Is JT allowed to throw balls without pads during spring ball?"
No. He's still in high school. He's not graduated.
Is there anyone proving themselves as a return specialist right now?
No.
No.
Same thing.
Yeah, that looks about the same.
Status quo.
Could Elijah Griffin and Isaac Taylor Stewart redshirt, or will they challenge for Jack Jones' spot?
Don't think they'll necessarily challenge, because I think the other guys are way ahead right now.
Yeah.
Does Dominic Davis have any chance of getting on the field this year? Why can't we find a way to use his speed?
I like him in the running back spot. I mean, they didn't have a lot of healthy running backs, so there's some potential there, but I don't know. I wouldn't bet on it. Really nice kid. You hope there's speed, moves, but they just don't seem to work him in.
Apparently, Frank Neary was dormies with Tim Tisselin, so he says hi.
Oh yeah, we'll tell Tim you said hi, Frank.
That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, thank you so much for watching us here. We're going to go out to practice in a little bit. Let some of the other media come in here. We're not dominating the whole thing. No, we pretty much dominate practice because we got 5 people out there, and we have as many media people for our group than everybody else combined a lot of times. So.
And we're the best looking, so.
Those two, not me. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for all the questions. We appreciate it. Shotgun over there. Keely Eure here. Ryan Abram. We had Joey Kaufman up at the top of the show. Thanks for Joey for joining us, and we will talk to you next time.